Guys, we got a lot to get into, and I want to start with the Peter Navarro news. Ellie, let's just get this out of the way. What is Navarro facing here? And also, it's worth noting that he did not self-surrender. What do you make of that?
Yeah, so Peter Navarro got treated like any other person gets treated when they repeatedly lie to federal investigators. He's a little bit of surprise that he got treated that way because he's a rich white man. So it's like, oh my God, consequences of my actions. But I mean, it's not all that surprising what happened to him because Peter Navarro had to go to jail because he got out-lawyered by Ari Melber on national television, and we all saw it, right? Like, Peter Navarro literally confessed to his crimes on Ari Melber's show. Ari had him back on. He confessed some more, and that's why he's in trouble right now. He is the definition of a person who messed around and found out.
Absolutely, he is. I want you to take a listen, Rosa, to this sound from Peter Navarro, where he whines to reporters about having to face consequences. Take a listen. We'll talk about it on the other side.
Right? I was on my way to Nashville today. What did they do? They didn't call me. Instead of calling me and say, hey, we need you down at court, we've got a warrant for you, I would have gladly come. What did they do? They intercepted me getting on the plane. And then they put me in handcuffs, they bring me here, they put me in leg irons, they stick me in a cell. That's punitive. What they did to me today violated the Constitution.
So, Rosa, Peter Navarro was mad because you had to miss your total plane to Tennessee and they put him in handcuffs. I mean, that's what happens when you stage a coup. It's just surprising to me, Rosa. Right? How could they do that to him? He has to wear handcuffs. Let me tell you, I know people have been handcuffed for a lot less. What do you make of all of this, Rosa? Because we're seeing right now democracy crumble. Go ahead.
It's ridiculous. This is what happens when you ignore subpoenas. This is what happens when you're in contempt, when you ignore legal processes. Eventually, people are going to come and they're going to put you in handcuffs. You know, that's what we do to people in this country. Maybe we shouldn't do it as much as we do, but we do it all the time. And we do it to lots and lots of poor people. We do it to lots and lots of people of color. And boy, my heart sure bleeds that Peter Navarro was on his way to Nashville and the trip got interrupted. That is so sad.
Yeah, exactly. I want to circle back with you, Rosa, but I want to bring Nick in the conversation because, Nick, this whole plan from that GOP-led plan to subvert the will of the American people, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be outrageous if come November we hear the same trite sound bites of this is so un-American, this is not who we are, I am shocked. I don't want to hear any of that because they're telling us right now what they're going to do, and Steve Bannon has been saying this for a long time. Take a listen to Steve Bannon, and then I'm going to get your take on the other side.
From the Rio Grande Valley to South Texas, to the great heartland of this country. Actually, in San Francisco, we've got a lot to go through. The recalling school boards, remember, hyper-locality. The precinct committee strategy, the school board strategy, the election official strategy, hyper-locality. We're taking this back one village at a time, a populist revolt. We're taking action. And that action is we're taking over school boards, we're taking over the Republican Party through the precinct committee strategy, we're taking over all the elections. So he's getting all these, anti-Democrat. No, they're there to have a free and fair count.
I mean, Nick, you heard him say this is a populist revolution. Give me your take on what's happening here.
Well, the problem is that twofold. Number one of those clips, actually, if your folks had kept playing it, he says, and we're going to create a constitutional crisis, but you know what? We're a big country and we can handle it. And that's almost an exact quote. I mean, these folks are swinging the wrecking ball directly into the Constitution at this point, and they know it. That's the remarkable thing about it. They are engaged in, as you said, election subversion. It's the new election suppression. Election suppression, of course, is when you prohibit someone from voting. Election subversion is when you simply don't count their votes after they've cast them. And there are two ways to do it. One is to basically set aside votes at the polls, block them in little batches by setting aside votes. The other one is to create such massive doubt and chaos and confusion over the election results themselves that you can kick the choosing of electors to state legislatures. And as your viewers probably know, in each one of the swing states, Republican legislatures control Republicans control all of the state legislatures. So,
Right.
you know, we're headed straight for a constitutional crisis, possibly.
I think we are at a constitutional crisis, and that's the scary part. Rosa, my big concern is, you know, we saw what happened January 6th in this country, and a lot of these local state legislatures that Nick just referenced, they don't have the same security to handle another insurrection. Take a listen to the lawyer from our RNC Michigan Election Integrity Director, and he's basically saying an army is coming to the polls. Take a listen to this.
We are trying to recruit, truly, it's going to be an army, right? We are going to try to recruit lawyers. We're going to have more lawyers than have ever been recruited, because let's be honest, that's where it's going to be fought, right? We're going to have lawyers that work early to build relationships with different judges, so that when that happens, we're going to have lawyers that have relationships with the police chiefs in the different areas, with the police officers in the different areas, so that when that happens, those pre-existing relationships are already established, so that they can't lie.
My question, Rosa, is if we see this happening right now, we've seen the evidence of what happens when, you know, these Republican people throw a fatal temper tantrum. They're telling us right now, here's the blueprint of what we're going to do. What needs to be happening today to prepare for the crumbling democracy that they're accounting for?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Steve Bannon is absolutely right that this is going to be playing out at the local level and at the state level. And if Democrats ignore that, we're going to be taken by surprise by a sort of a partisan takeover of polling places and a partisan takeover of what is supposed to be a neutral process. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Americans saying, hey, I'd like to volunteer to help make sure that the election is fair. But what the GOP is doing, and they're really not even trying to hide it, is saying we are doing this not to make sure it's fair. We're doing this because we've decided that fairness consists of our people winning. When our people win, it's fair. When anybody else might win, it's not fair. And so that when fairness means our guys win, you know, you've got a really deep problem. I do think that we all do need to be mobilizing to say that people who care about the integrity of elections for their own sake, not just to make sure that their side wins and gets power, need to be there, need to be poll watchers, need to be poll workers, need to make sure that this army of people who are happy to engage in dirty tricks to ensure the outcome they want can't do it. It really frightens me a lot because, as you said, their blueprint has been made public. The only reason they didn't do it in 2020 is they thought of it a little bit too late. They didn't have time. This time they're laying the groundwork well in advance. And I think it's going to be a huge problem.
It is a huge problem now. This problem is a problem that's going to snowball, Ellie. And, you know, Rosa's fear is not lost on me. I mean, I share that. And it's also not lost on me that they are targeting people of color. They are going after voters of color to say that those votes are somehow illegitimate. Honestly, Ellie, I'm fearful of laying this at Democrats' feet because this really shouldn't be a partisan issue. If you care about democracy, like Rosa said, regardless of what side of the aisle you occupy, you should care about the will of the American people. But that they're going after voters of color, Ellie, is there anything that people at home can do to help get ahead of this? I'm really at a loss of what that might even look like.
Well, there are two things, right? Number one, you should volunteer to be a poll worker and a poll watcher if you have the capability. And if you're watching this at home right now, that is a legit thing. That is an action item that you personally can do. I have signed up to poll watch. I have signed up to do election, like the hotline that the Republicans are talking about. I have signed up to be on those hotlines. To just walk people through their rights and make sure that those rights are protected. You know, I've had friends who are part of, you know, I have legal friends who, as lawyers, show up to try to fight these people, and you can do that from home. I mean, look, Tiffany, you said today was Wire Day, right? So part of what's happening with the Republicans is that it's like, is you taking notes on a criminal conspiracy? Like, that's kind of what the RNC is doing. But the Democrats should use that to their advantage. The Republicans have now shown them what their hand is, and we have to play at their level. This is a long-standing problem for the Democrats. This goes back to 2000. When Republicans were ready in Florida in 2000 to go take that election over, and Al Gore, the Democrats, we were just like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So like, We have to get in this game. And yes, Tiffany, people at home can be a part of that solution by signing up and volunteering to help.
Absolutely. Stand by, Stringer Bill, because you're going to stick around with me for the next break. But Peter, Nick, go ahead. I'm sorry, Nick. I'd love for you to
I just
weigh
want to
in.
point out too that there are Secretary of State races occurring all over the country this year, and it's really important for people to tune into those, and also to your local election administration races, because that's also occurring, as your viewers probably know. The MAGA people are running for Secretary of State in Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. We got to be very, very vigilant here, so they can, in addition to becoming poll workers, they can also vote in those down ballot races.
Yeah, I think. Thank you, Nick, for making that point. That's such a hugely important point. Secretaries of State determine how elections are run. They can also determine the outcome of elections. And also, Nick, you made a great point about state legislatures, because a lot of the crappy legislation we see is bubbling up from those state legislatures. So those elections count as well.